Hello and welcome back everyone for the part 3 of We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together. Before we proceed further in this video, let us have a quick recap of whatever we had learned up to now. The narrator, Gordon Cook, he was a businessman from an aristocrat family, but he had a passion for traveling and adventurous activity. And as a result, he decided to go on a world voyage. He involved his family in the same. Actually, before going on a world voyage, he had made preparations of some 16 years or so, and it is a long time. He had also a ship which was named Wave Walker, and it was checked properly whether it will survive against the worst conditions of weather or not. After making all these preparations, the family decides to go on a voyage. In the family, we have Gordon Cook himself, then his wife, his son Jonathan, who was 6 years old, and daughter who was 7 years old. Her name was Suzanne. They started from Plymouth, England, and they reached very safely up to Cape Town, Africa. They had a pleasant journey there, up to there. After they had reached to Africa, they had decided to hire two crewmen, Larry Wiesel and Herb Siegler. They were expert crewmen and they could be handy if the weather deteriorates or any problem would be there while going through the southern Indian Ocean, because they expected that the climate condition in southern Indian Ocean would be very bad and they require some sort of help who can manage with this horrible condition of southern Indian Ocean. They had celebrated Christmas there in the ship. They had decorated Christmas tree and all. And by that time, the wind speed started, means wind started blowing faster than the normal. And as a result, there was a sudden rise in the wave. They expected that the weather condition will definitely improve within a week or so. This way, New Year came. But the weather condition, rather than improving, it became worse. On 2nd January, they encountered a horrible weather condition. All of a sudden, this author, Gordon Cook, he noticed some huge cloud just above the sea. But when he observed it closely, then he realized that they were not huge clouds, but in fact it was a huge wave, bigger than the main mast. And you can imagine that initially he took that waves just like a cloud. So it was such a huge wave. And that wave suddenly attacked the ship and ship was broken in back from the down, and this author was thrown towards the wheel. The water started coming inside the ship. They initially did not have any idea what to do in this condition. Larry Wiesel and Herb Siegler, they were continuously trying to pump water outside, and author was badly injured. He was injured on the rib and the blood was coming out of his mouth. Meanwhile, his wife Mary came from inside the cabin and informed him that they were sinking. The water had gathered there in the cabin also. So, author asked Mary to control the wheel. Meanwhile, he will go inside the cabin of children. He goes there. Sue had some injury. Suzanne had some injury on her head. her eyes had blackened a bit, so she was injured. Other than that, her hand was also injured, but initially she did not inform that her hand was injured. She only showed her head. But author did not have a time to look after this type of small injury. So what he did, he came out immediately, because if repairs were not done to the ship, then the ship might get drowned. वो डूब भी सकते थे. Other side, Larry Weasel and Herb Siegler, they were trying to pump the water, throw out the water with the help of the water pumps. But the water pumps they had, they were not working. First water pump was choked with the debris, or you can say dust or the kachra, and because of that it was not working properly. Then the second electric water pump they had, but it was somehow short circuited, so that was also not working. But luckily author had found one spare water pump and it started working. That night they had to continually throw the water out of the ship, otherwise the ship will get sink inside the water. They had radio and all, but in that atmosphere, I mean, they are far away from the land area and radio might not work. Their mayday call not be received by anyone. So these are the all things that we had discussed in the previous two videos. Now we will continue the story further from here onwards. Before we proceed further into the paragraph, let us have a quick understanding about this verse, so we'll be able to appreciate the lesson in detail. We have the word smash, you probably know its meaning. Then we have the word keel, steel structure along the base of the ship, that is called keel. Again, read it. Steel structure along the base of the ship. We have pin pricks, a prick caused by a pinching of a pin. But we have this phrase, pin pricks in the vast ocean. The two small islands in the vast oceans were very tiny, like prick caused by a pin. अगर आप वर्ल्ड के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में सोचोगे तो दुनिया बहुत बड़ी है. हमको कई बार कई आइलैंड बड़े दिखते हैं, लेकिन कंपेयर टू द वाटर एंड द सी एरिया, they are so tiny and so small. So in the lesson we will be able to see that author was trying to search for the island in the ocean, but these islands were not found out by him. That's why this expression pinpricks in the vast ocean is given. Then we have abated, something unpleasant to become less intense. Something unpleasant to become less intense, or you can say intensity comes down. Then we have the word auxiliary engine, small secondary engine used to board ship to operate a windlass in the ship, but you can say that supportive engine. Now author was in a confusion, because he did not exactly could realize that he could not exactly realize that how much the ship was broken from the down. He tried to make repairs, and this way he remained busy all night there. After the wave had hit the ship, they had survived for 15 hours. 15 hours बीत गए थे. तब तक इन्होंने फाइट की थी वाटर से, because the more water was coming out, they were trying to throw it out. Now They were worried about going to Australia. If not Australia, then they had to go at least somewhere to some island. He knew that there falls two islands in between. If they somehow manages to go to this island, then their life could be saved. One name is given here, Ile Amsterdam. Island falls on the way to Australia. But here the author makes expression that our only hope was to reach these pinpricks in the vast ocean. इतने बड़े समंदर में इतना छोटा सा आइलैंड मिलेगा भी या नहीं मिलेगा, that was a big question. So they were hopeful that they would definitely reach to that island or some land area, if at all that will come on the way. On January 4, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, you can understand their struggle. यहाँ पे शुरुआत में 15 आवर्स बोला है, फिर बाद में 36 आवर्स. They had to work continuously for 36 hours and try to throw water out of the sea. We reached the last few centimeters of water. जो पानी की क्वांटिटी ज्यादा थी शिप में, अब धीरे धीरे वह कम होती गई with the help of water pumps and all. Meanwhile, they were also worried about setting sail on the mast and all. क्योंकि अगर सेल में ज्यादा क्लोथ लगाएंगे तो उससे विंड स्पीड का वो धक्का लगेगा, विंड का धक्का लगेगा उस सेल पे, और जो रोप वगैरह है वो खींचेंगे, और खींचने से क्या हो सकता है, द ब्रोकन पोर्शन विल गेट ब्रोकन मोर. सो दे वर consciously putting the rope and the rigging there. जो unnecessary था वो उसको नहीं रखते थे. They were very cautious while putting the sail also. That night, here it is says that, so we hoisted the storm jeep and headed for where I thought the last two islands were. They started going in the direction of island Ile Amsterdam. Mary found some corned beef and cracker biscuit, and we ate our first meal in almost 2 days. 2 दिन तक बगैर खाना खाए वो कंटिन्यूसली वर्क करते रहे. शायद किसी की जान पर आ पड़ती है तब पता चलता है कि खाना याद आता है कि नहीं आता. So we are at home, then we continuously eat within 2-3 hours, between the 2-3 hours or so. लेकिन ये लोग 2 दिन तक खा नहीं पाए थे, just because they had to look after their life. They were more busy in surviving rather than eating the food, but somehow they ate after 2 days. Another verse to remember: rigging, the ropes and wires supporting the structure of the ship; hull, the framework of the vessel; respite, a short period of rest; deteriorate, to get worse; heave to, means to raise or lift with effort; paraffin, colorless flammable oil liquid; sextant, an instrument with graduated arc of 60 degree, or taking altitudes and navigations. Sextant you can say in the context of compass. Caricatures, a picture of a person or cartoon. These people in the ship, they gradually started thinking that somehow they survived, but our respite was short-lived. At 4 p.m., black clouds began to building up behind us. एक हॉरिबल कंडीशन से तो वो गुजर चुके थे. नाउ स्टिल दे हैड टू फेस the same bad weather condition. The wind was blowing at the speed of 40 knots, and the sea, I mean waves, were getting higher and higher. The weather continued to deteriorate, become worse and worse throughout the night, and in the morning on January 5, our situation was again desperate. यानी कि वो स्टॉमी कंडीशन अभी ख़त्म नहीं हुई थी, उनकी सिचुएशन बद से बदतर होती जा रही थी. But they had experienced a horrible wave there. It was not like that. The father was also worried about his children, so he went into the children's cabin to comfort the children. बच्चे अंदर डरे हुए थे, उनके साथ बातचीत करना जरूरी था, तो father had gone into the children's cabin, and uh, Jonathan asked his daddy, "Daddy, are we going to die?" तब I tried to assure him that we could make it. ऑथर ने उन्हें श्योरिटी दी कि हम बच जाएंगे, विल बी एबल टू गेट टू द लैंड एरिया. लेकिन जोनाथन ने जो बोला, इट बिकेम अ स्ट्राइकिंग स्टेटमेंट. जो जोनाथन यहाँ बोलता है वो लेसन का टाइटल बन जाता है. He says, "But daddy," he went on, "we aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together. You and mommy, Sue and I." Let us read this again. We aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together. You and mommy, Sue and I. जब तक हम साथ हैं तब तक मुझे मरने से भी डर नहीं लगता. That was a daring statement of just 6 years old boy. If any other boy would have been there, he would have started crying. Lekin here is a daring statement spoken by a tiny boy, in fact, an infant, very small in age. इतने छोटे बच्चे ने इतना daring statement दिया, and that was a courageous statement. That was a statement which would encourage the author to fight against the odd condition. तो इसीलिए हमको ये टाइटल मिला है, वी आर नॉट अफ्रेड टू डाई इफ वी कैन ऑल बी टुगेदर. When Jonathan spoke this daring statement, Arthur could not speak further, but he was determined that he will do something. He will definitely take this family to somewhere into the land area. So he was more determined to survive than before. Then he made some arrangement. That evening, Mary and I sat together holding our hands. Husband and wife were worried still. They were not sure whether they will be able to save their life and children's lives or not, because unless and until they reach to some safe area, nothing can be saved. Somewhere they realized that as the motion of the ship brought more and more water in through the broken planks, we both felt the end was near. उनको दोनों को लगा कि शायद सब कुछ खत्म हो जाएगा, वो बच नहीं पाएंगे. अंदर से सोच रहे थे ऐसा. But Wave Walker rode out the storm, and by morning of January 6, with the wind easing, I tried to get a reading on sextant back in the chart room. I worked on the wind speed. जो स्टॉर्म फेस करना था वो वेव वॉकर ने फेस कर लिया था. अब सिचुएशन धीरे धीरे सुधर रही थी. He had a compass, he and map and all. So with that compass and map, he was trying to work out where they are and which direction they are heading, and how far the island may be from there, and how far Australia may be from there. So he started to make calculation. The best I could determine was that we were somewhere in 1,50,000 kilometers of ocean looking for 65 kilometers wide islands. They were looking for island Ile Amsterdam. उनको वही एक होप थी कि इतने बड़े समंदर में एक छोटा सा आइलैंड मिल जाए तो शायद उनकी जान बच जाए. While I was thinking, Sue, moving painfully, joined me. The left side of her head was now very swollen, and her blackened eyes narrowed to slit. She gave me a card she had made. ऑथर अपनी चिंता में थे गॉर्डन कुक और तभी सुजैन वहाँ पे आती है. उसने एक कैरिकेचर बनाया था. वो बताती है caricatures are cartoon pictures. We also make cartoons of our parents, of our friend, or as a child you might have made so many caricatures, and she had written something in the card also. On the front she had drawn caricatures of Mary and me. Author और मैरी के पिक्चर दो रहे थे, मीन्स ड्रॉ किए थे उन्होंने, आई मीन सुजैन ने. And she had written, here are some funny people. Did they make you laugh? This sentence was written that here are some funny people. और ये देखते ही ऑथर को थोड़ी हंसी आ जाती है. And other than that, there was a message. Oh, how I love you both. So this card is to say thank you and let's hope for the best. अब देखो, ये सोचने की बात है कि लड़का 6 years का है. वो डेयरिंग स्टेटमेंट बोलता है कि वी आर नॉट अफ्रेड टू डाई इफ वी कैन ऑल बी टुगेदर. लड़की को बहुत बुरी तरह से लगा है हेड पे, फिर भी शी वॉज एनकरेजिंग पेरेंट्स. शी हैज रिटन दैट आई लव यू बोथ, so this card is to say thank you. How understand and how these kids have developed this type of understanding. क्योंकि इतनी दिक्कत होने के बावजूद भी अपना धैर्य बनाए रखना वो बहुत बड़ी बात है. So these kids are a great motivation for us if we think in that context. कि इतने छोटे छोटे बच्चे भी हमको इतनी प्रेरणा देते हैं कि ऐसी स्टॉर्मी सिचुएशन में जब जान पे आ पड़ती है तब भी कैसे धैर्य बनाए रखते हैं हम. Then author worked on his calculations. We had lost our main compass and I was using a spare which had not been corrected. जो कंपास पैर कंपास था वो श्योर नहीं था कि that will show the right direction or not. I made an allowance for this and another estimate of influence of the westerly currents which flow through the part of the Indian Ocean. In other words, we had already gone through previously about bunk, bed, then dozed off, went off to sleep. डाउज ऑफ का मतलब होता है वेरी शॉर्ट स्लीप. कुछ समय के लिए आप सो जाते हो, दैट कॉल्स अ डाउज्ड ऑफ. About 2 p.m. I went on deck and asked Larry to steer a course of 185 degrees. If we were lucky, I told him with conviction I did not feel, he could expect to see the island at about 5 p.m. अब गॉर्डन कुक थे, वो थोड़ा थक चुके थे, तो उन्होंने लैरी को बोला कि तुम अभी व्हील का कंट्रोल लो, तुम नेविगेट करो. he will take a rest meanwhile. If he is correct in his prediction, then they probably will be able to reach Ile Amsterdam by about 5 p.m. Then author went below. He was not sure whether his prediction would work out or not. He climbed to his sleeping berth, and amazingly he slept. कई बार ऐसा हो जाता है कि हम पूरा समुंदर पार करके जब किनारे की तरफ आते हैं तब हमें नींद आ जाती है। तो ऐसा ही ऑथर के साथ हुआ कि बहुत स्ट्रगल कर ली थी, कई दिनों से सो नहीं पाए थे अच्छी तरह से। सो ही स्लेप्ट देयर व्हेन दे वर अबाउट टू रीच टू द आइलैंड। व्हेन ही वोक अप इट वाज ऑलमोस्ट 6 p.m. ऑथर जब नींद में से उठे तब उनको लगा कि शायद उन्होंने आइलैंड मिस कर दिया होगा। जब रियली वो जान बचा सकते थे आइलैंड पे जाके, तभी वो सो गए थे। तो ही वॉज नॉट श्योर वेदर he reached the island or not, but here it is said that I knew we must have missed the island. उनको श्योरली लगा कि आइलैंड मिस हो गया क्योंकि मैं उस समय में सो गया था। When he was thinking like this, at that moment a tousle head appeared by my bunk. वो बंक पे अभी सोते हुए यही सोच रहे थे, अचानक से अनटाइडी हेयर वाला हेड, टाउजल मीन्स अनटाइडी हेड appeared by his side, and the boy said, "Can I have a hug?" And that tousle head was no one but Jonathan, and Susan was right behind him. Author said, "Why am I getting a hug now?" Then son replied that because you are the best daddy in the whole world. But author said, "Not today, children. I am not the best daddy. आज मैं आपका बेस्ट डैडी नहीं हूँ। शायद मुझे जागना चाहिए था, लेकिन तभी मैं सो गया." But they informed, in fact Sue informed, "Why, you must be. You found the island." हम आइलैंड पर पहुंच चुके हैं। जब ऑथर सो गए थे तब लैरी कंट्रोल कर रहा था, और somehow as author had predicted they would be able to reach to Amsterdam at 5 o'clock, and similarly they reach also. Author was surprised and he made a shout of, "What? We had reached?" And they spoke together, "Children, it's out there in front of us. Island हमारे सामने है, as big as a battleship." Author was so happy and relieved after he listened this from the children. So after a long struggle, the family reached the island Amsterdam and saved their life. We anchored, they stopped their ship there, and they were welcomed by about 28 inhabitants from the shore. About the island, it was informed that not too much vegetation grows there, but somehow they were able to reach there. And author talks about Larry and Hob, and he talks about Mary, he talks about his children, how they gave him inspiration. I know the lesson turned out to be quite long for you. It was a long story. It is all about author's struggle in the southern Indian Ocean, how he was stuck by the huge wave, how the ship was broken, what are the things they did to survive, what sort of inspirations were given by two kids of author. All this is discussed in the lesson. But as it was said previously that this is an adventurous lesson, motivational lesson for those who are fond of reading adventurous stories and all. Hope you would have understood the lesson. If anything is lacking still, now you can read the lesson once again and watch this video again, all these three videos together, and you'll definitely be able to understand the story. Ultimately, out of great difficulty, the author and his family survives at last. And that's why we have this courageous title. We are not afraid to die if we can all be together. That is all about this video. We shall definitely come with the new content, with the new video. Till then, it's goodbye from me. Have a good day ahead.